This is something I want to get out onto the internet sooner, but through confidential circumstances, I was unable to. I first want to state that I will not reveal my real name, and that mentions that my name will be under a false one. To protect myself if something happens down the line, it is absolutely necessary that I must do this. For anyone unknowing, I worked for a channel called Larry's Lounge for some years. It was a channel hosted by Uncle Larry or Lorenzo Abraham, and it would mostly feature chilling at Larry's Lounge, which was an outdoor area with a few chairs, TV, and tables. He'd drink and update his viewers on what was going on in his life. His opening line was always, "Welcome to the lounge, all you loungers, chillers, bowlers, and grillers." I worked with him close to the beginning of the show. Most episodes were a myriad of lounging, chilling, making a basketball video, and grilling. Larry would give the audience advice, cook food, and do occasional pranks with his son, Tom. Larry himself was a middle-aged man with a shaved bald head, a goatee, and a baseball cap that he always wore. Tom, as I much mentioned, was a very antisocial type. He had the typical nerd voice, played video games, and lived in his room constantly. However, he had been a cameraman for the show since the beginning. It was his occupation for most of his adult life. He was invaluable to the whole operation. He edited the videos, filmed the videos, and acted in the videos on occasion. So why am I telling you all this? This is just the beginning of the side of Larry that I had never witnessed. Everything was normal at the lounge when the channel was created. I would go over once a week to film a video, drink a beer, and have some laughs, occasionally grill some food for the channel, and that was that. Simplistic fun. There was no tension in the air from anyone, especially when you have a few beers in you. Larry would turn from an already goofy guy to downright hilarious, once he lost his sobriety. His beer of choice, Corona, it made the videos more enjoyable, I suppose. Or at least that's what he said. Larry tried to pursue a schedule on where the vlogs should go, but once we all drank, the videos would just turn into a ramble. Tom, who was filming, would always just feel uneasy next to a bunch of drunk dudes with insatiable appetites for beer. The videos would just turn into a ramble. Oh god, dyslexia. While I found it hard to believe the views were fairly good for the channel this type, we made money, we had a healthy community of fans, and we got along very, very well. That was before 2017 rolled along. The situation on YouTube changed drastically, and channels like Larry's Lounge started to get hit hard due to ads being taken down, decreased views on the videos, and sudden unexpected fans' hatred. Larry always considered it a storm that will pass and that everything will get better eventually. But as months wore on, the opposite happened. All of these things doubled in severity. Soon the money we were making off Lounge was next to nothing. $5 a video? That isn't sustainable. Considering the work we had put into some of these skits we make, which require props, writing, filming. Larry even got Tom to buy a GoPro for 2 angles of a skit that Larry was very proud of. Unsurprisingly, in the end, the video only got 5,000 views, with many dislikes when it was uploaded. It was very corny, but the lounge was meant to be that way.
As the early months of 2017 became mid, Larry's usual happy-go-lucky mood started to fade. When I would drive over to make a video, there was no "hello" or "good to see you." It was just, "let's get this over with." There were no conversations when the camera was off. It was just, make this video and part ways. The fun side job of mine turned into just work. No longer did the beers make us laugh. It just became more of a symbol of the channel, nothing more. I had sympathy for Larry. The ad situation was stressing everybody out. I would always try to talk with him about statistics with the channel, but he shut me off every time. As the weeks progressed, I would come over to the lounge to see Larry already drinking his beer, and not just one beer, mind you, but he had already consumed 5, most of the time. When going over to make a video, to say he was a little drunk would be an understatement. And by the time of shooting the video, he was a blubbering mess. The videos started to become nonsensical. Chillin' and grillin' stopped suddenly, and the staple of the channel started to become vlogging with the Coronies. You could say Larry was burnt out. too much time, too little reward, but it didn't stop there. On the rare occasion that he would want me for a video, I would let myself in to hear Larry yelling inside Tom's room. One time, I could vaguely hear, "You know there's tension with us, Tom. We need to unleash it." Despite his best efforts to keep it muffled inside the room. To not be considered intruding on the conversation, I just knocked on Tom's door to signal I was there, and that we needed to make a video. At that point, he wanted to shoot the video and be done with it. Larry would quickly open the door and get out to the lounge. Tom was always flustered now. His cheeks were red with stress as he brushed me aside and followed his father. I could tell through Tom that these arguments were now constant. The videos proceeded with normality, not any real humor, and drunk, sad Larry and casual talking was, well, the norm. Tom used to make a few smart comments here and there, but now he was purely silent behind the camera. And the only time he did try to say something, Larry would give a strange expression to him, not one I could put into words, and then complete silence from Tom for the rest of the video. I always now felt like the awkward one here as I kept going in for videos. An argument was always present. I would hear Tom say, "I'm not your servant," and then I would come in and the same events continued. As 2017 came to a close, Larry would take shots of vodka before the video started. He would put his mouth on the shot of glass and suck it in, and what I would consider essentially. It didn't last long, but it was enough for me to notice. One time I thought it would be a good time to make a dirty joke at the moment, so I joked, "Sucking some balls, Larry?" "Yeah, I love balls," he would state with very little emotion in his voice. Wait, let me put little emotion in that. "Yeah, I love balls," he would state with very little emotion in his voice as he shoved his tongue inside the shot glass, his vodka-mixed tongue giving some sort of excitement. After that very out-of-place moment was done, he'd always say, "Let's get to the video." At the time of Larry digging shots of vodka, Tom started to become very fidgety, even for him. He would make awkward glances at me in some type of distress. I would joke, "What's wrong, buddy?" but he would never respond. This is weird for me. It seemed like the whole environment at the lounge is becoming uneasy. It was now to the point where Tom would say anything, and Larry would fire back, slurring his words. "Come, Tom, come." And at that point, Tom would become very flustered, and his hands would tremor like an earthquake. Being the guy I was, I didn't want to step in on their personal lives. I don't know him like that, so I never mentioned it. Larry himself looked terrible as 2017 gave way to 2018. On the videos, it was like he hadn't taken a shower in months, and his clothes stank of alcohol. His views only continued to get worse. Then, March 21st, 2018, was a day I will probably never forget. It wasn't a filming day, but I got a text from Larry reading, "Name," I'm just going to say my name, "Aiden. I have an idea for a video that I'm going to produce on our normal lounge video. Don't bother coming in that day. I'll be making the video solo." I casually typed back, "What is this video?" He almost responded instantly, saying it's going to be something along the lines of Uncle Larry shaves. I laughed. "Oh, so you're filming you shaving your goatee. Is it a prank video or something?" "Something like that. It'll be pretty funny. I'll send you the link when I finished it." I tried to inquire more, but he never responded afterwards. At that point, it was no big deal, so the day of filming came along, but I didn't need to go. I was rather excited to see the video. Honestly, this was one of the few times I wasn't going to be in one, so I was naturally curious what it was going to be about. Then, Larry shot me a text. "Shaving with Uncle Larry," followed by a link. It wasn't a YouTube link, however. I didn't even know what website it even was. I thought it was a VidMe clone he wanted to try on us or something. So I tapped my finger on the link. The website took ages to load, but it directed me to the video. There was no thumbnail, just a play icon on the center of the screen. I tapped it and the video loaded. It opened with the camera sitting on Uncle Larry's bathroom countertop. I honestly felt a little weirded out. The lights were on in the bathroom, but nobody was in it. The door was shut for a full 20 seconds. I stared at the screen, waiting for something to happen. Finally, Larry opened the door and walked into the bathroom. He shut the door and briefly glanced at the camera. I knew this was staged. He had turned on the camera and then walked out just to come back in. But what happened next made me forget about all that staged business. Larry took a first shot of vodka in front of the camera, and then just walked off the camera to where you couldn't see him. Then I heard some type of liquid hitting water. It sounded familiar. Was there a leak in the bathroom? No. Far worse. I was hearing Larry pissing in his toilet. The camera's mic picked up his muttering, "Fuck me. Fuck me." I wanted to click off the video right there, but some sick part of me continued to watch. After he finished pissing in the toilet, he moved back into the camera's view and opened. "What's up, loungers? All you loungers, chillers, ballers, and sinners." His voice didn't even sound the same. I could practically smell the alcohol off him coming through the screen. "Today I'm going to be shaving, and might help Tom out as well," he muttered, the two sentences not even going together. "So for today's lesson, I must acknowledge, a man must keep his pride intact. Hair is a symbol of a manly man, and it must always be treated with respect." He then grabs a razor off the camera and continues, "The hair on a man's body is the utmost respect, but also going shaven isn't too bad as well, loungies." With that, I thought he was going to start shaving his face for the video, but then he started to slide down his pants. My jaw dropped, and he suddenly started to slowly slide down his underwear with a razor in his other hand. I stopped the video and clicked off that site. What did I just witness? Was I dreaming? I gasped for breath. I grabbed the car keys and drove off for Larry's. I had to confront Larry on this. It was absurd. I drove into the property, his stones on the ground being sent into the air as I slammed on the brakes of the vehicle. I raced down the stepping stones to the door to hear noises coming from inside the house. I heard Larry yell, "Are you going to take it this time, Tom? Are you going to be a man?" I heard aggressive slapping against something, like skin against skin. I opened the door to quickly see an image I wish I could not see. I saw Larry naked from the bottom couch, with Tom laid up against the other side, naked and screaming, trying to fight off that sick freak. Worst part is, Larry was turned onto the max. Bottles of Corona and alcohol littered the table. Tom was not just being raped, he was bruised and beaten. His face was mangled. I rushed forth and knocked Larry's head in quickly, knocking him out and tossing him aside. My heart was racing. Tom was berserk now, and the authorities needed to be called. That day, the police were called. Larry was arrested and shoved into the back of the police car where he belonged. Larry gave me a dirty look as the car spun away. Tom was taken with Larry into the vehicle to the police station. I couldn't comprehend what in the world just happened. Should I have, though? Larry was getting more depressed every week when I went to visit him. After the channel declined, he would have made sick sexual jokes about young boys and girls, drink until he was drunk, and constantly yell, "Living like Larry." Did I just lose my best friend? I had to find out what was going on. So I went to the police station where an interrogation was occurring with Larry himself. I waited until the interrogation was over, until I got more information. Tom was in another area of the department, eventually to be released. Larry, though, I was told he wasn't to see the light of day for a very, very long time. To make a long story short, the trial happened, and all legal jargon aside, he was eventually sentenced to 20 years with a possibility of parole in 5 years. The only reason he didn't get life was because the defense stated he was intoxicated. It clouded his judgment. I couldn't get that image out of my mind of Larry with Tom. Speaking of Tom, I tried to contact him, but he would never respond to my calls. I eventually went over to the house to speak with him personally, but he never answered the door. I felt it my obligation to notify the lounge what had occurred, so I posted this on my channel speaking about what happened, and soon after, the lounge itself was terminated from YouTube. It feels like I am glossing over things now. It's because I am. Part of me wants to forget those events. And it's traumatizing for me to recall them for you today, but it only felt right that I gave you the full report on everything. I didn't feel safe anymore, or I don't feel safe anymore. However, Tom isn't the same. I rarely see him, and when I do, it looks like he's at the near point of death. He looks like he hasn't eaten in years. He doesn't say anything, only shakes his body in tremors. It has been years since that event occurred, but it still ripples into the modern day. Jesse, Larry's nephew, has quit YouTube indefinitely thanks to all this. I've quit YouTube to get away from it all, especially since I fear Larry will be about to be let loose soon. Fix your grammar, Wrath. I heard the guards call him Uncle Harry now, and I heard he mentions that he wants to stare at the butts, and that he also mentions he wants to see me when he gets released. That he wants to give something to me. I'm thinking about moving away now, perhaps across the country and maybe further. I can't get to sleep anymore as the days toward Larry's potential release inch forward. I've only used the internet just to put this up. For anyone who needs this, don't put any more archive videos to the freak on this site. You don't know what you were getting yourself in for.
Perhaps I never knew which Larry's true side was. It was a hairy side. If anything turns up or I'm on the news, make sure to stay safe. Thank you for reading my document to you all. Goodbye for now. If anything happens, I'll get back to you. Goodbye.